Ah, the Great Eagle. It unfortunately suffers from comparisons to the Manticore given similar cost and role, but they are very different units, so let's talk a bit about them here. Kilrinu coming in with Avalorn, of course. We've got Alariel, also mounted on an eagle. One other Great Eagle here. We've also got Metal Mage, Archers, and Lothern Seaguard. Spearmen, you can see Hellstorm Rocket Battery, the Sunmaker even, already lighting up this line here. A bit of Rangers as well for the Empire. Volkmar the Grim, a Bright Wizard, bunch of State Troops, 3 Reichsguard, and a Shadowcaster as well. Just Penumbral Pendulum there and Burning Head, so going for the double wind spell. And yeah, that Hellstorm already doing some very solid damage. So back to the Eagle as we watch those Lothern Seaguard get blasted. As a mount option for Alariel, obviously very good. It allows her to go up in the air. Just as a unit in general, though, let's take a look kind of characteristics. Not the most weapon strength in the world, only 390 total weapon strength, 62 charge though, very nice, 44 attack, only 30 defense and 30 armor, so it is very squishy. Not a lot of HP as well, under 3,500 HP base. But that 62 charge in particular does mean it hits very hard, and so it's almost like a nice little shock monster, given that it can fly around. It can definitely generate some pretty solid value here. We've got Overcast Plague of Rust on Volkmar the Grim, Alariel and the Eagle both swoop in, going to be doing some very solid damage. Volkmar dropping that Grand Soulfire will do some solid work, force those Dragon Princes away. They move to engage those Reichsguard. State Troop Spearmen going to be moving in as support, and a nice rear charge from these other Reichsguard. Very bad situation for the Dragon Princes to be caught out in. Banishment also cleans up some State Troops, but also probably does a lot of damage to, the High Elves as well. Yeah, I guess that was from Volkmar, not from Alariel, right? Yes, makes sense, okay. Volkmar, though, just taking an absolute beating from these 2 Eagles and not able to escape. Given the kind of angle that he's trying to take here, the Spearmen actually do block him somewhat. And let's see, the Eagles really only need a couple of attacks to finish him off, but it does look like he's going to get loose there. Heart of Avalorn was used to try and bail out those Dragon Princes. Unfortunately, they did just get absolutely wrecked, which is fine. Sunmaker's still online for the time being, but there they go, actually routing from the fire of the Lothern Seaguard. Spearmen and Reichsguard once again kind of collapsing. The Dragon Princes there, a little bit of Earthblood on them to try and sustain, but a Burning Head also just ripping apart Lothern Seaguard there. Overruns into the Archers as well. Pretty good stuff. So the Empire definitely punching back, but the issue is this double Eagle snipe on Volkmar. Very tough for him to deal with. He's going to ride through the Reichsguard there. Basically, it's just Volkmar trying to survive at this point. He's under 1,000 HP here, so the Eagles could swoop up and around and come back, try and snipe Volkmar. They might be able to finish him off, but let's see. For the time being, he is still alive. We've still got plenty of Archers and Lothern Seaguard, though. Potentially could turn to focus fire there. A lot of Empire infantry units blobbed up in this engagement, though, and they do take some damage from that Penumbral Pendulum. Should finish off the High Elf infantry. But the Empire, other than Volkmar being very low, does look to be in pretty decent shape. They've just got a massive amount of State Troops here. Need to push forward and kind of spread out and engage each of these Archer units, but with the Reichsguard moving away there, no units to screen for Volkmar. Well, no, actually the Spearmen can screen there. And you can see the Eagle starting to take some damage from the Spearmen. Eagle, definitely, you need to use it, always be cycle charging like a Chariot or a Shock Cavalry. It should be called a Shock Flying Monster, honestly, just to kind of designate its role a little bit better. Given that it's so focused on its charge bonus, like Griffins or, there's other monsters. Manticore, again, for comparison, has more weapon strength but less charge. Also will enrage, but it does cause terror, which Eagle does not. Kind of a bit of a point against it. Honestly, I do think they could maybe decrease the Eagle's cost ever so slightly. Maybe put it down to like 775 or 750. Maybe make it a little bit better there. But the second banishment being used, the Reichsguard also working in tandem to try and clean up some of this backline here. Pretty good stuff. Really nice final transmutation, though. Hits everything in this pocket. Might be able to finish off Volkmar from that Metal Mage. That Metal Mage been putting in work, and he does indeed go down from the double Eagles, so the snipe is done. Empire's still got a lot of stuff left, though. A lot of State Troops. There's still both these casters alive as well. Spearmen with shields. Only a handful of Dragon Princes. And Alariel and her Eagle Bro Of course, the Metal Mage is obviously still hanging around as well. It's gotten some really good value there. Let's see. See if the Reiksguard can hang on. The Eagle's now prioritizing the Reiksguard themselves. Eagle, let's have a look at the armor piercing damage as Heart of Averlorn pops to heal. If I can keep this up, obviously. 156 armor piercing, 234 base weapon damage. Pretty decent amount of AP. Can definitely help chew away some of these weakened Reiksguard models. Their armor will help protect against some of that non-armor piercing damage, but they're just so low at this point that they do get routed there. Dragon Prince is also moving to engage. Yeah, you can see the Spearmen here, with the support of the Bright Wizards still holding up their leadership, are able to kind of clean up. Swordsmen also moving in to help clean up these Lothern Sea Guards, so quite a pitched battle at this point. Another Burning Head going to be unleashed. Trying to finish off that unit of Lothern Sea Guard. Probably won't quite do the trick. Not Overcast, unfortunately. But now this Bright Wizard's going to feel the wrath of the Double Eagle. Oof, just peck right to the face. But when the beak is the size of your entire head, that's gotta hurt pretty decent amount. It kind of surprises me they don't do armor piercing damage, honestly. But yeah, it's definitely proved pretty effective so far. Dragon Princes also, their leadership comes into play big time in the late game here, where they can still keep fighting despite suffering horrendous losses here. Only 4 unit models online there, 14 there. So that Earthblood will be able to restore them somewhat. But the Sunmaker, Hellstorm Rocket Battery trying desperately to get back online. These Spearmen here, you can see, are kind of defending the rockets, trying to secure them at the very least. But the crew, because they do get kind of spaced here, a handful of Dragon Princes that remain are going to ride them down, finish off the few engineers that remain. They will once again rout. The Sunmaker had been able to get back online. I mean, it's not like it has that many targets to shoot at, considering most of what's left for the High Elves is low model count stuff. Probably end up doing more friendly fire than anything, but maybe you could get a couple of hits on these Eagles here. You can see the balance of power tipping more and more as the state troops get routed, and it's going to be a victory for High Elves. So very nicely done. Well played to Killerinu and AC Moore both. Yeah, the double Eagle snipe on Volkmar, pretty effective. Especially this one Eagle here, the non-Alariel Eagle, the actual Grey Eagle. 1,300 damage value for a unit that costs 800 is very, very solid. Definitely paid for itself. The Eagle can be really nice in terms of damage output if you use it correctly. You just have to use it correctly there, and Killerinu definitely did a good job of not leaving it in prolonged combat, not getting it caught out, by like Reiksguard countercharging them on the ground. AC Moore also didn't have that many range units to try and counterfire, like Pistoliers especially, or something like Free Company even. Provides some ground fire support, just because of the low armor and low HP. Those types of units, especially the higher volume, higher DPS units like Pistoliers, they can do a number on Grey Eagles. So you definitely have to be careful of that, but well played by Killerinu there, utilizing it. Dragon Princes, one of them actually does pay for itself at the end of the day, despite the fact AC Moore was able to get some pretty good collapses. The Reiksguard, unfortunately, one of them just about pays for itself, but the other one's not quite as cost-effective. I really feel like Reiksguard should be a little bit cheaper for what they offer, but that's just me. Spearmen with shields, state troops all trade reasonably well for the most part. Wow, 762 value on the one is quite impressive. They generally are good in this matchup. The Sunmaker actually did pay for itself as well, which is pretty nice. The obvious thing is Volkmar just not paying out his value, getting hard sniped by the 2 Eagles. The Metal Mage also playing a big part of that, so definitely unsung hero here. I would definitely recommend, there's not a lot of factions I'd recommend going double caster consistently, but High Elves and Averlorn obviously, especially, I would definitely recommend bringing a Metal Mage alongside Alariel or Teclis. The spells that they offer, Plague of Rust in particular, but Final Transmutation as well, are just so good in certain situations. And against specific units, like here, against either Karl or Volkmar, there's a number of targets, high value, Demigryph Knights, high value targets for the Empire that you could use it against, so definitely recommend. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. Just as kind of a end cap here, I know I talked a little bit about the comparison to the Manticore, and it's not a super fair comparison to the Eagle, because Manticore is literally the best single monster in the game. I know I said in a video previously that yeah, that lizardmen have the best monsters overall, like if you take the faction as a whole, but, I mean, they also have access to Feral Manticore through summons, right? But anyway, let's take a look here, and I think, in fact, if we can just go to the... yeah, here we go. Feral Manticore and Grey Eagle, both available to Dryka on her faction. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, here we go. So we can literally compare them side by side in the same roster. So you can see 12 extra charge on the Grey Eagle does not make up for 55, in fact, extra weapon strength on the Feral Manticore. So it will just hit harder straight up. The Grey Eagle is more likely to actually get hits, given that, you know, it does have higher charge bonus and melee attack. But even still, I mean, the higher weapon strength and higher HP, especially 300 extra HP, is pretty significant, not to mention an extra 15 armor. Does have even more melee defense as well, so just because of the terror plus the extra tankiness and weapon strength, it just overall is much more cost effective. There's an argument to be made that the Feral Manticore probably actually needs to move up in price rather than reducing the Eagle's price, which I think is probably a better way of approaching this. Eagle at 800 is reasonably cost-effective. It's not something you see all the time, but it's definitely something that can be worth bringing. Just depends on what you want to do, what you're trying to fight. You know, you having it like snipe a squishy caster, or, you know, be an extra single entity in a single entity combat like what we saw there. You know, just throwing in some extra weight on a charge definitely can be very effective. Like, you know, if you have even just like characters like Alariel, for example, it was a really good example, honestly. But yeah, I mean, these two are just not comparable, which is why, in terms of Winds of Magic costs, they did fix that, and in fact acknowledge that yes, the Eagle summon is less Winds of Magic. Does it cost the same amount of gold? It's 188 gold, and let's double check here with Durthu. This is, yeah, 194 gold, so it is less expensive in terms of gold value as well, but they have yet to address that in the actual units cost themselves, right? We see these two units having exactly the same cost, which is just not correct. I really think that Feral Manticores probably need to be 850, 900, maybe even more, honestly. I think 900 would be a good place to go, though, just to see how that kind of plays out from there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, though. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.